speak from notes. That's why I put my little barrier up here, because I'm jet lagged, I'm scatterbrained, and I tend to get off topic, so I got to keep myself on track here. And as you can probably see, I've just been constantly making changes to the things that I want to say, so hopefully I can figure out what I've written down here. I don't know if Dr. Houston is outside or not, but my stomach is rumbling, my knees are knocking, so all those things she talked about this morning. But how absolutely amazing is it to be back here at Memorial University? It's been 20 odd years since I've been here, and this is a place where some of my best memories were formed. I thought I was just going to be another one of the speakers like I did in Victoria, and then one day I saw Charla tagged me in a post, and I looked at it and join us for our keynote speaker, and there was my picture, and I thought, what in the HE double hockey sticks have I got myself into now? This is not what I signed up for, Charla. But because it really is humbling to be here and speak after the amazing group of men and women that spoke throughout the day today, and also to hear personal stories and the stories of those that received awards today. So how about we give a big round of applause for everybody that presented. Thank you so much. And I'd also say, take a second to congratulate yourselves for taking a little bit of time out of your weekend, taking a day for yourself and coming and doing something to support other women, to treat yourselves and do something for you, something selfless for yourself. So give yourselves a round of applause for that. I was trying to remember when the last time was that I performed at Memorial University, and I think I narrowed it down to two different things. It was either, my friend Leona's going to laugh at this, it was either dressed as Lita Ford for a lip sync contest in this building when it was the Thompson Student Center, or it was when my acting class did our production over in the arts building, and I played a hooker. So look at how far I've come. Oh my. Yeah, but I'm very grateful to be here, and I've known Charla, as you've heard, for about 4 years now. We met when I was posted to Thunder Bay as the commanding officer of Griffin, and I knew from the first time that I met her what an extraordinary person she is. And I'm just thankful once again, Charla, for the opportunity to come and to speak here and to share my story and be a part of this endeavor. And thank you for your support, for your friendship, and for what you do for women across the country and around the world. We are a fearless leader. Okay, so I told Charla that I was going to talk about bringing your values to work, which is something that applies no matter what your work environment. I also thought it would be a good opportunity to talk a little bit about what a person in uniform is, what's actually behind the uniform, who we really are. Because when somebody sees a uniform, they see that as a uniform. It's a uniform that's attached to a specific job or a specific task. It's a box that that person is pigeonholed into. I drive ships. Actually, right now I drive a desk, but my job is I drive ships for a living. And even in uniform, I am a lot more than that. My job requires me to be an administrator, a disciplinarian, a planner, an investigator, a counselor, an environmentalist, a teacher. I'm even a trial judge for minor offenses in the military. Outside of my uniform, I'm a dancer, a yogi, an actor, a Seahawks fan, a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a friend. It goes on and on. And there are very few of our military members who have no interests outside of their work. I am surprised every day when I learn of things that people that work with me do, what their interests and their hobbies and their passions are. I am many things. Ultimately, I am what this uniform represents, which is Canada, Canadian people, Canadian interests and hobbies, and Canadian values. So much of my values are rooted in my upbringing. I was, as you heard, born and raised in Grand Bank, which is about a 4-hour drive from here. I am the oldest of 3 daughters, to a mother who is the oldest of 9 children. So my leadership skills were fostered and developed at a pretty early age. Both of my parents worked full-time. My mother was a nursing assistant who worked 12-hour shifts, and my father was an administrator with a heavy construction company, which meant that he was typically away on job sites for anywhere from 5 to 12 days at a time, and home for a weekend in between. So as kids, we grew up learning to be independent, self-sufficient, but our home was still strict. We had tight curfews, chores, stringent rules, swearing was forbidden. I've made up for that since I became a sailor. And we were disciplined often for breaking the rules. And so I once was grounded for using my mother's hair mousse when I was getting ready for the teenage dance one night. And I still say that was a real waste, because the waste of all that hair mousse and all that time that I had trying to get ready for that bloody teenage dance that I never got to go to. When I was 5 and the middle sister was just 2, I had hip surgery to rectify a birth defect. Without that surgery, I would have been crippled for life. With the surgery, I spent nearly 8 months in a body cast. A chunk of that time in the Janeway Children's Hospital here in St. John's. You remember I talked about that 4-hour drive from my hometown. And I had to learn how to walk again as a 5-year-old. So when I was finally able to finish kindergarten in an actual school, as opposed to in the hospital, well, I was that tiny Tim of the class, hobbling in on my crutches and not allowed to play outside for fear that I might get hurt. I have some very vivid memories of that time. Most of them center around learning how to walk again. And perhaps one of the most vivid ones was in the front porch of our house, and I was there with my mom. I was trying to take a couple of steps, and a little bit of movement of my leg, and my mom, being the ever-supportive parent, said, that's it, you took a step. My response? Nope, doesn't count. I was holding on to the wall. Other than learning how to put my shoes on the right feet, that was probably my first real challenge towards building some resilience and some stubbornness and a little bit of my OCD. Now, I mentioned that there were 3 daughters. No boys, just girls. That wasn't a factor in our house. The chores still had to be done. Whether it was dishes and laundry or mowing and shoveling, I did it. For Christmas, I got Barbies and a backhoe. Thanks, Dad. I took ballet lessons. I played soccer. I went shopping with Mom, fishing with Dad, and actually shopping with Dad because he enjoys it more than Mom does. But we were never discouraged from trying things or doing things just because we were girls. It was not an issue. Succeed or fail, I never thought of anything that I did as because I am a girl. So naturally, I got involved in everything. If there was a team, a sport, an activity, a club to join, I did it. In fact, my face shows up so many times in my high school yearbook, it is a little bit embarrassing. And I knew I wasn't particularly stellar at anything, and there were some things I was downright terrible at. Basketball is one of those. But I just really didn't care about that. I loved, and I still love, trying new things, meeting new people, people from different backgrounds with different interests. The more exposure you have to other people, the more understanding, caring, and open-minded you will be. So of course, having that many different interests means that I struggled for a long time with what I wanted to be when I grew up. And one of these days, I am going to grow up and figure it out. We used to have those albums that my mom would order from Regal. I don't know if you remember the school ones. They had like a page for every year you went to school, and there was a little pocket that you could put things in, and you put your picture on it, and you wrote down, what you did that year and who your friends were, and then there was a little checklist at the bottom of what you wanted to be when you grew up. Yeah, me, I was the kid that checked off teacher, and doctor, and ballerina, and police officer, and singer, and there was, I don't know, almost everything had a check mark in it. And that indecision followed me here to MUN. I came here thinking I was going to do a business admin degree, and then I met calculus. So several route changes, one forced academic holiday, and a lot of fun. I eventually graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in English, with a concentration in theater and drama, and a minor in, wait for it, folklore. I was so well prepared to do nothing. Despite all that indecision, I do actually like structure. I like schedules and plans. I like order. I also like a little bit of chaos, and that's sort of a prerequisite for the job that I do. I like taking charge and making things happen. And so I guess you would think the military was a natural choice for me. I had my reservations. but after learning about the reserves while I was attending university, I decided that I would do what I had always done. I'll just give it a try, see if I like it. Little did I know that just giving it a try would lead to a full-time career, travel around the world, and command of a warship. All from giving it a try. A few years ago, I had a visit with an aunt that I hadn't seen in, I don't know, 20 plus years. And she was asking me some questions about my job, and by then I had already been the commanding officer of one of our warships. And she said something to me along the lines of, I always knew that you were going to do great things and you were going to be a leader, because when you guys were kids and you were playing, you were always telling everybody that, no, we have to do it this way because those are the rules and that's the way that you're supposed to do it. Yeah, you can imagine my horror when I realized I was that kid. But all of that kidding aside, I think my parents did a pretty good job of teaching us the difference between right and wrong, about treating everyone with kindness, about the importance of discipline and rules, and about being fair, honest, and accountable. And they instilled a healthy dose of guilty conscience too, and that's a pretty effective tool. Now, when I was sworn into the Navy some 22 years ago, I was told that I was going to drive warships and how awesome it was going to be. And it is. I'm telling you, there is no feeling in the world like taking control of a warship. But that is just such a small part of the job that I do. When I reflect on the personnel situations that I've dealt with in my job, I am astounded at the number of issues that come up. Suicide, debilitating mental health illnesses, family violence, terminal illness and death, harassment, personality conflicts, drugs, alcohol addiction. Some of those situations I was really well prepared to deal with. Others, not so much. And I'll elaborate on a couple little personal stories in a moment. Now, after hearing a list like that, you're probably thinking, good God, what kind of a place is the Canadian Armed Forces to work in? But I guarantee you that it is a fantastic place to work. The majority of our personnel are upstanding citizens who make exceptional contributions to society. They have healthy lives and families. When we see something in the military that's not right or not good enough, we put it out there for the world to see it. We take the critical comments and the opinions of the public, and we work hard to fix it. Why would we air our dirty laundry like that? Why is it the military is so often a target in the media and public forum? Why are you more likely to hear that a member of the Canadian Armed Forces was arrested for drinking and driving last night than you would your barista from Starbucks, or maybe even a doctor from the local hospital? Well, it's because we hold our people to a higher standard than most other employers. Because we understand that we have been trusted by Canadians to represent them on an international stage, and, should the need arise, to bear arms and go into conflict to protect our country and our national beliefs and interests. We don't want to go to war. Nobody wants to go to war. But we have agreed to do that to protect our loved ones and our Canadian values. So my point in bringing up all those issues I talked about is that they exist no matter where you work. Most workplaces are diverse cross-sections of society, and the military is no different. Not everyone will be good. Not everyone will respond to the same approach. And everyone will have something go wrong at some point. Even your happiest, most productive, energetic, hardest working person will have problems. To be an effective leader when those types of things happen is, in my humble opinion, impossible without having a strong set of those core values. I firmly believe that it is those values that I was brought up with, rooted in my hometown, that got me through many of those situations and also helped me deal with some personal situations. I know to be compassionate when I need to be, but I'm not a pushover. Sometimes I have to be firm with someone who needs some guidance, some direction or discipline. Above all, I strive to be fair to everyone, but also hold people to account for their actions, even if they're struggling with underlying issues. So if you have a look at some of the descriptors in the different sections of this graphic, values are principles or standards. And while some of our values differ from person to person, most of us Canadians have a very similar value set. That goes for those of us in uniform too, because newsflash, your military has values. And in fact, Canadian values play a fundamental role in determining how the military functions. The legitimacy of the profession of arms requires that it embodies the same values and beliefs as the society that it defends. Our military members come from and return to civilian life, and therefore the values of the service have to be in sync with those of society. So our values in the military are summarized under these 4 words which comprise our military ethos: duty, loyalty, integrity, and courage. These 4 words entail the concepts that we strive to live and work by every day. Concepts like dedication, initiative, and discipline. The primacy of operations, which means putting our people before ourselves and putting the mission that we execute on behalf of Canada above everything else. It means reciprocal and mutual trust between leaders and their subordinates. It means meeting your obligations while being responsible and accountable for your actions, being honest and ethical, and dedicated to justice despite personal consequences. It means disregarding the cost of an action, of making the right choice even when there are easier alternatives, and having the willpower and the resolve not to quit. So I have a bit of a personal saying, a bit of a code, I guess, that I try and live by every day. And that is, never ask your people to do something you aren't willing to do yourself. This little code helps me, I believe, rationalize my decisions. It allows me to communicate my intent to my subordinates, and it forces me to take stock of my own military ethos. It ensures that I am true to my people, and that I prepare them to the best of my ability to ensure their success. Finally, it's how I earn respect. Because respect is not a given. It's not something you're entitled to because you've been placed in a position of leadership. You have to show your people that you respect them, that you understand the demands of their job, and that you are willing to put yourself out there too. So, I said I was going to tell some stories. About 10 years ago, I had lost myself. I've already pulled my Kleenex out. Just keep it close. I was in a long-term relationship that was failing on many levels. My job was stressful. There was a lot of pressure on me to get my command qualification. I wasn't taking good care of my personal health. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't exercising, I was eating poorly, and I wasn't taking time to do any of those things that I loved to do. My unit was full of established type A people, those folks that, hello? That's just orders coming in from the headquarters, I'm just kidding. The unit was full of these older, well-established type A people. They were the type of folks that like to just push each other's buttons to get a reaction and, have a little bit of fun around the office. I would work in that environment all day, and then I would go home to the situation that I had with a failing relationship, and I felt like I was spending every waking moment of my days appeasing somebody else and not doing anything for myself, just ignoring myself. I found myself getting angrier, more bitter, and feeling more and more helpless. I was getting sick. I caught norovirus. I caught pneumonia. I was getting more migraines. My sciatica was getting worse. It goes on and on. And then I happened to have a visit with a friend of mine who had retired from the Navy. She had had her share of challenges: alcohol dependency, a turbulent relationship with her parents, anxiety problems. But now she was in a really good place. She had made many positive changes, including going to therapy. And I was at awe at how grounded she was, how calm and happy she was. I was envious of her. So one day during that visit, she had an appointment with her counselor, and I went to a bookstore. And while I was in there, I picked up a copy of a book called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Now, I had never even heard of him before, didn't know who the guy was, and I'm not here to plug his book, but I recommend reading it. that visit and that book was the first step for me in changing things that needed to change in my life. It was my wake-up call. I knew I needed to make a change. So I slowly started fixing some of the things that were wrong in my life. I was able to start finding some calm and some peace to deal with things without losing my shit. It was a first step in a long, long process of turning my life around. From Dr. Dyer, I adopted 3 little mantras that I always repeat to myself and that I often end up telling other people. Number 1, I can deal with this. Number 2, will this matter a day, a week, a month, a year from now? And number 3, which is my favorite, what other people think of you is none of your business. In reflecting on that time, I am astounded at how easily we can lose sight of our values and stray away from who we really are. That I had that experience has also helped me stay true to who I am and remember that I am more than just my job. And that there is also a big place in my job for the person that I am and what I believe in. So fast forward to my first command. I had a sailor working for me who had some significant anger management issues. He had been in trouble a couple of times, and he had just had another outburst, which basically could have been career-ending for him. We have a process in the military whereby it's kind of a 3-strike thing, and he had had 2 strikes already. Now, by the book, I could have just carried out the administrative process and had him released from the Canadian Armed Forces. I could have very easily gotten rid of one of the problem children. But that is not right, and that's not me. So I took some time to talk to him one-on-one in my cabin, and by my cabin I mean my office in the ship, not the place where you go for May 24th weekend. I gave him the opportunity to tell me what was bothering him, why he was angry all the time, what he felt he needed to succeed, and how I could help him do that, how we could get him over that obstacle. I let him talk. And when he was done, I told him the story I just told you. I wanted him to understand that he wasn't alone, that even his own captain had experienced that same feeling, that downward spiral of anger and bitterness and feeling like there was no end in sight. And then I gave him my book. Soon, he had made a couple of new friends in the crew. He started exercising. He stopped drinking. He was smiling. But I didn't do that. I just helped him find the way to do that for himself. Sometimes, someone just needs a push in the right direction. They just need to know that someone cares and is willing to help and will listen. I took this picture from my mom because I think you can read what it says. It says chin up. So that's what my mom always says to me. I prefer, and Danica will like this, I prefer put your big girl panties on and deal with it. But my mom always tells me when I'm having a hard time, chin up. So that's for Mom. Men and women do share very similar value sets, but we sometimes have a different approach in how we apply those same values. This was in Norway. Now, I could talk to you a bit about women in the military and what we do and all that, but I don't want to get too far off of this topic, and I could go on for hours, and I'm not going to do that. What I will tell you is that women's participation is vital to achieving and sustaining peace, and that when women are included, peace processes are more likely to be successful, and peace agreements are more likely to endure. And that's a fact. On that note, this is not so much about putting down men. We talk a lot about men abusing women, and it absolutely happens. But women also abuse women, and women abuse men. And it's the women who abuse women that really bothers me. Why are we just so jealous of each other? Why are we so petty about things? Why are we so judgmental of each other? If we want others to respect us, we have to respect each other. That's the only way that we're going to get respect. We need to do better. And we also need to remember that it works both ways. It's women supporting women and men, and vice versa. Because we are not better, we are equal. This is me with some of my coworkers. This is all commanding officers of ships in different events. I work in a male-dominated job, and I have many men to thank for the success that I have achieved, for the strength that I possess, and for the independence that I enjoy. They have been with me every step of the way. They've been in my family, in my education system, my workplaces, my social networks. Good or bad, they have all taught me something and helped solidify my values. Okay, so not to keep getting further and further off of topic here, I'm going to get back to what I really wanted to talk about. And that's that if there's one thing that I would tell anyone about being a good leader, it's that you have to start with your own personal happiness. If you're not happy, you're not going to be effective. End of story. You have to decide what's important to you. If you're happy putting work and progress and titles and things ahead of everything else, then great, fill your boots. But if that makes you miserable, then what's the point? I realized that I made many sacrifices in my life, sacrifices for others and for my job. I never got married. I suppose there's still hope. I don't have children. I'm fine with that. There were times where my health and my family and my friends took a back seat to my job. I'm less okay with that. I'm going through that a little bit right now. But I'm better prepared now to recognize it and do something about it when it happens. We have one life to live, and it can be over in a moment. So why not just be happy and enjoy what it is that you do? I rediscovered that joie de vivre of my childhood as I was turning 40. When I finally ended that toxic relationship, I started snowboarding and surfing and yoga and paddleboarding. I got my motorcycle license 2 weeks ago. My boss told me I'm going through a midlife crisis. But I was rediscovering myself and that curious kid who wanted to get involved in everything again. So in case it hasn't been clear over the past 20 or so minutes, I will summarize in my little personal rules for life and leadership. Those are all pictures of me, including that one on the end there. And the number one rule is have a sense of humor. Don't take yourself too seriously, and remember that not one of us is perfect. We have a chief who's about to retire that I worked with for a few years, and he used to always say there was only one perfect man and we nailed him to a cross. Be a person. People respond to personal experiences if you share them. But don't make it all about yourself. You need to give them a voice too. Be kind. You don't know what the other person is going through, and what you say to them just might make the difference in their day, good or bad. And if you can't think of anything nice to say, then you're not thinking hard enough. Be fair. Don't put others down or take undue credit for something that someone else has done. Equality matters for everyone. Be humble, but gracious. Accept a compliment. I have a little bit of a problem with that one. And give compliments. If you see something that makes you happy, tell a person. Be strong. Take criticism. Have a thick skin, because nobody's going to look after you but you. But the caveat to that is, it's okay to not be quite so strong sometimes. Stop being the victim. Our obstacles and hurdles only exist if we allow them to. Take responsibility and accountability for your actions. I promise you, you sleep better at night. Be realistic. Not every job is for everybody. Be introspective. Analyze yourself and fix what you don't like. Look out for each other. Build each other up. There's no place in this world for jealousy and spite. Be prepared for anything. Life changes in an instant. Now, a lot of the women here will certainly attest to that. As we say in the military, the plan never survives first contact with the enemy. Just do it. Travel alone. Buy the shoes, eat the cupcake, love with abandon. Do what you need to do. And finally, love really is everywhere. You just have to open your eyes and find it. Most importantly, do whatever the heck you want to do. Because you live in a country that lets you do that. And to not take advantage of the freedom that you have is an insult to those who protect it and those who are still fighting for it around the world. Thank you.
Commander Michelle Tessier.
Here it goes again.